Hello, my name is Dylan and I will be recording the tutorial video for the class dayType implementation. The class is for data structures with Dr. Rizk at the University of Houston. So, these are the instructions. We have to write the definition of the class dayType that implements the day of the week in a program. The class dayType should store the day, such as Sunday, for Sunday. The program should be able to perform the following operations. It has to set the day, has to be able to print the day, has to be able to return the day, has to be able to return the next day, has to be able to return the previous day, and has to be able to calculate and return the day by adding certain days to the current day. So for example, if the current day is Monday and we add 4 days, the day to be returned is Friday. And if today is Tuesday and we were to add 13 days to it, then we would return Monday. And we're able to add the appropriate constructors as we see fit. So it gives us the dayType.h file that we should be creating, including what the functions that we have to implement are. So let's get started. So first off, we're going to add the header include IO stream. Once we do that, we can go ahead and using namespace standard, then we can go ahead and start creating the class. So create class dayType, and then first we add the private variable, which would be string weekday. Then we add the public variables and functions. So the first one would be returning string, and it's not returning string, it's an array that contains strings. So string weekdays, and there's 7 weekdays, so 7. Next is the default constructor. Next is a constructor with a parameter that allows us to set the day. Next is a function called setDay that allows us to set the day if we didn't already do it with the constructor. Next is a function that returns a string and returns what the current day is. And that could be constant. Next is a print function, so we actually see out what the current day is. Next is the next day function that returns what the day for the next one will be. Next is the previous day function that returns the previous day. And lastly is the function to add a day. Either the number of days, so it could be 1, 2, or just 30, however much. So now we get on to implementing these functions. So you could implement the functions in the class declaration if you want. I like doing it under it. So we do dayType, and let's start with the default constructor. So since it's the default constructor, we're just going to set the weekday to blank. And then fill up the array with all the corresponding days of the week. So first one would be Sunday. Second one would be Monday. Third one would be Tuesday. Fourth one would be Wednesday. Fifth one would be Thursday. Sixth one would be Friday. And then the final day of the week would be Saturday. And this could be in any order. This is just the typical US calendar order. So now that's the default constructor implemented. So now we go on to the constructor with the parameter that allows us to set the dayType during the creation. So that is basically going to be the same as the default constructor, except we are going to set the weekday variable to the string that we got in the parameter. And that's the constructor with the variable. So now we move on to the setDay function. So we do void dayType since it's not returning anything. And setDay with the parameter. And that one is simply going to be setting the variable to the parameter. So that's 3 of the functions done. Now we go on to the function to return the day. So it's a string dayType get day. And this one is simply going to return weekday. It's the 4th function done. So now we move on to the one to print the day, whichever current day it is. So that one would be void because it's not returning anything. And you do dayType print. So if you're implementing all these functions inside of the class, you wouldn't have to put this dayType portion in front of all of them. You would just do that after you get rid of the semicolon. And that would be how you implement the functions inside of the class. But since we're doing it the other way, we're just going to continue with it. So for the print function, all you do is see out the weekday. So it prints the weekday out to the console. Next is the function to figure out what the next day is. So this one's going to return what the next day is. So you do string dayType next day. And we're going to start off by creating an integer to keep track of what index we're at. And then a string to hold what day is next. Actually, you know what? We're not going to need this string. Okay. So we start with a for loop. That's going to start at 0 and go to 7 since that's the length of our weekdays array. That's how many days there are in the week. You're incrementing upwards. So now we're just going to run through the array and check whether what weekday we have is equal to what day of the week it is in the array. And then once we find it, which is what this if statement is going to do, it's going to set whatever the index in the array is to the index variable that we created. So we're going to know what index the day we're looking for is. So once we have that, we can do if the index is equal to 6, then we're going to know it's a Saturday. So we're going to return weekdays 0, so Sunday, because the next day after Saturday is Sunday, and it's going to go past the index of our array. Otherwise, so else, we're going to return the index plus 1 of the array. So this will return what the next day is. And now we go on to the function to return the previous day. So string dayType previous day. And we're once again gonna create an index. And then we're going to do the for loop once again. So starting at 0, then going to 7, because that's how many days there are in the week, and that's the size of our array. We are going to run through the array again until we find which weekday is corresponding to the one that we are looking for. And once we do that, we're going to set our index variable that we created to the index of the array that we're looking for. Once we have that, we can get out of the loop, and then we can do if the index is equal to 0. So similar to what we did here, except instead of 6 it's going to be 0. Then we're going to know it's Sunday, so we're going to return weekdays 6. So we're going to return Saturday. Because if you try going before 0, then it's just going to be -1, and that's going to be, it's going to throw a few errors at you. So, and then otherwise, so else, we return weekdays, then whatever index we found, -1. So now we're going to implement our adding a day, or adding however many days function. So void dayType add day int n days. So we're going to start this one off by, so we can find an easy way to do this is you take whatever number of days it is and mod that by 7. So you'll get the remainder. So for example, 13 mod 7 would give you 6. So instead of adding the full 13 days, you can just add 6 days because it would give you the same answer. So if you add 13 days to Monday, you would get Sunday. But if you had 6 days to Monday, you also get Sunday. So it's just an easier way. It saves you some time. Then we're going to once again create the index variable, and we're going to once again run through the array and if weekday equals weekdays, we're going to set our index to the index of the array, so we'll know, and exit out of the loop, and we're going to index plus equals no. So that is the same as if you were to do index equals index plus no. It's just shorthand. So now we do if the index is greater than or equal to 7, then we're going to set the index equal to index minus 7. The shorthand for this works the same as the other one, so you can do minus equals if you want. And after that, it's just weekday equals weekdays index. And that is going to be it for our dayType header file. So there's no issues found, so we're set there. Then we go to our main, and we're going to make sure to include the dayType header file that we just created. Then we do int main, and so for our int main, that is also given to us to test how, if our object function or if our dayType class is working. So we're going to mimic this one over to ours. So we're going to start off by creating the dayType object. So my day. And let's start it off with Monday. And let's create another one and start this one off with Sunday. So now we're going to test with the first object type, so we're going to test with this one now. We're going to print it so it shows us what it is. Then we're just going to add a new line so it looks cleaner. So now we're going to make it print the previous day. Followed by a new line, and then make it print the next day, followed by another new line. And now we're going to test the second dayType object we created. So we're going to do printing it, and then once again go to a new line to make it look cleaner. And then we're going to do the same thing again. So we're going to make it print the previous day, followed by a new line. Then we're going to make it print the next day, followed by a new line. And then at the very end, we're just going to put return 0. So there's no issues found in this main file, and there's no issues found in the dayType file. So let's go ahead and try running it. So it's building at the bottom. There's no issues. And it's giving us the proper output. So started off with Monday. Then the next day is, no, the previous day is Sunday. And the next day is Tuesday from Monday. So then we're starting at the second one. So the day is Sunday. The previous one is Saturday. And then the next one is Monday. And that concludes the dayType class implementation. Thank you.